Welcome to this Forge College Explainer. So if you're following along in our Solidity from Zero track, you know we're right in the middle of the Introduction to Solidity and Basic Syntax module. Coming off our last lesson, Synthesis, Memory Safety Patterns, and Next Steps, we're ready to dive into the Control Structures and Functionality section. Today we're talking about error handling with require and assert. Think of this as installing the alarms and bouncers in our smart contracts. If you've ever wondered how a contract defends itself from bad inputs without, absolutely bankrupting you on gas fees, well, you're in the exact right place. We're going to explore the precise tools Solidity gives us to handle errors, validate inputs, and keep our digital vaults perfectly secure. Let's get right to it.
Here's a quick look at our agenda for today. 1. Context and contract security. 2. The bouncer, require. 3. The vault door, assert. 4. Saving gas with revert. 5. Lab, debugging the contract. And 6. Summary and next steps.
Section 1. Context and contract security. Defending the vault. Before we even think about writing a single line of functional code, we really have to establish the ground rules at the very entry points of our functions. And that brings us to a crucial concept, the guard clause. It's exactly what it sounds like, honestly. It's your very first line of defense. A guard clause sits right at the top of a function or a modifier, and it operates on one beautifully simple principle: fail fast. Basically, if the preconditions aren't right, the guard clause shuts the whole operation down immediately. The transaction reverts, leaving absolutely zero partial state changes behind. And you definitely want this, because otherwise you risk a complete nightmare scenario where half a transaction goes through, leaving your contract in a messy, mathematically impossible, or highly vulnerable state. We absolutely do not want that.
Section 2. The bouncer, require. Checking IDs at the door.
So if your smart contract is an exclusive club, require is your strict but polite bouncer. You're going to use this specifically for input and external calls validation. It's there to check things like, hey, does this caller have enough balance? Or maybe, do they have the right VIP credentials? If they fail those checks, require efficiently turns them away. Now, a quick pro tip here. Always pair it with a clear error message. You want the user to actually know why they were bounced. I mean, nobody likes being kicked out into the cold without an explanation, right?
Section 3. The vault door, assert the laws of physics. Alright, so if require is the bouncer, assert is the heavy steel of the vault door itself. It represents the immutable laws of physics inside your contract. While require handles those external inputs with a polite bounce and a specific error message, assert is reserved strictly for internal invariants. What's an invariant? It's a condition that should literally never ever be false, unless there's a critical bug in your logic or maybe even the compiler itself. Because of that, you should absolutely never use assert to validate user input. Why? Because triggering an assert is considered catastrophic. Think of it this way. Using assert for a bad user input is like detonating a defensive bomb inside your vault just because someone mistyped their PIN. It is a massive, massive overreaction. Save it only to test for truly impossible internal conditions.
Section 4. Saving gas with revert, the efficient manager.
Okay, so we've met the bouncer, we've met the vault door, now it's time to meet the efficient manager. While require is fantastic, attaching long string error messages to it can get wildly expensive when it comes to gas costs. Because of that, the best practice as your code matures is to prefer an explicit revert paired with custom errors. When you do this, it acts like an incredibly efficient floor manager. Instead of screaming a really long, expensive string of text like, error, you do not have enough tokens to complete this transaction, a custom error just hands out a highly specific typed rejection slip. It tells the caller exactly what went wrong, but without wasting their computational budget.
Section 5. Lab, debugging the contract, fixing TokenVault.sol.
Time to put on our blockchain detective hats, everyone. We are going to review a deliberately buggy contract called Token Vault. To do this, we'll follow a very strict, simple engineering flow. Step 1. Run the tests to collect failure traces. Step 2. Inspect the buggy contract code for obvious crimes. Step 3. Carefully implement our fixes using custom errors. And Step 4. Meticulously document everything in our debug report. Documenting is so important because it ensures our contracts remain auditable and much easier for the rest of the team to review.
Let's take a look at the first piece of evidence we've extracted. Right away, we spot a massive red flag. There is an assert statement being used to check if a user has a balance greater than or equal to their requested withdrawal amount. Do you remember what we just discussed about the vault door?
By using assert here, we are wrongly punishing the entire system, treating a simple, everyday user withdrawal limit error as if it were a catastrophic compiler failure. That is a huge no-no. This needs to be swapped out immediately.
Continuing our inspection, we stumble onto a second flaw. We see a require statement that's checking if a transfer was successful, but there's absolutely no error message attached to it. It literally just says require sent. Now this causes a silent failure. Just imagine a bouncer who blocks the door but completely refuses to speak to you. It's maddening. Diagnosing failing transactions during your testing becomes a complete nightmare when your contract reverts silently like this. We definitely need to fix this to make our runtime problems observable.
All right, let's look at our documented solutions. For the unauthorized withdrawal bug, we replace that dangerous assert statement with a highly efficient custom error, revert insufficient balance. And for the silent transfer failure, we swapped out the empty require with revert transfer failed. Importantly, when we went in and implemented these fixes, we made absolutely certain that we were validating the inputs before mutating any state variables. That step is crucial for guarding against things like reentrance vulnerabilities. By switching to custom errors, we're explicitly proving why our new code is superior. It's typed, it's incredibly gas efficient, and honestly, it's crystal clear for anyone reading the code.
Section 6, Summary and Next Steps. Engineering Rules to Remember.
Let's quickly review the core engineering rules we've permanently inked into our mental blueprints today. First up, always use require as your bouncer for input and external validation. Second, reserve assert solely as the heavy vault door for those impossible internal invariants. Third, utilize revert paired with custom errors to act as your efficient manager. This provides typed diagnostics and saves a ton of gas. And finally, always validate your conditions before mutating any state. Stick to these simple, disciplined rules, and I promise you will dramatically reduce the time you spend trying to track down failing checks.
Which really leaves us with one final, kind of provocative question. We now know exactly how error handling stops invalid operations dead in their tracks. But how do we effectively record and observe these successful transitions off-chain? Like, how do we actually know when things go right? Well, that is exactly what we will be covering in our next lesson, Why Events Matter in Solidity. To find out how to track those successes and emit structured logs, please visit forge.college to explore more Web3 topics and continue your Solidity journey. Thank you so much for joining me for this Forge College Explainer, and I will see you in the next one.